Good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the webinar today. Arctic IT is proud to have our very own Chief Information Officer, Philip Jackson, as the expert for today's training presentation. Philip Jackson is responsible for our company's network infrastructure and implementing new technologies to keep the company at the forefront of cloud security. In addition, Doi Unlimited, our parent company, relies on Philip's expertise to drive workplace modernization for their organization. Philip's career is built on a passion for cloud services and security, the power of data-driven decisions, and the ability of technology to improve organizations to their highest efficiency. Joining Philip in today's presentation is Marketing Representative Cherie Hirsch. Philip, with that, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm glad everyone can join us today from just across the country. And with me, I have Cherie. And Cherie, would you take a little time to tell us about Arctic IT?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Nice to see we have clients on the call from all over, so we're glad to have you with us today. So we are your security-minded technology partner, and we've been growing for over 16 years. So as part of the Doi Unlimited family of companies, we are an 8A certified Alaska Native corporation. And though we are a nationwide company with employees in over 20 states, our home and headquarters still resides in Anchorage, Alaska. We're also very proud to be a Microsoft Gold partner. And what that really means is we've attained excellence within Microsoft stack and have staff in-house that knows those products inside and out. So a little more about what we do for those of you who aren't familiar with both sides of our business. Arctic Care is our managed services offering. So we have experienced certified IT professionals on staff who take care of your network and manage your IT systems while you enjoy measurable advantages such as stronger advanced security, predictable IT costs, faster support, and last but not least, a peace of mind. Arctic Ascend is our business application services offering, so that includes everything from implementation to ongoing support. And we provide scalable ERP and CRM solutions, primarily in the Microsoft stack, to help modernize your workplace and maximize productivity for your organization. In today's presentation, Philip's going to talk to you guys about what's trending in cybersecurity, and then he's going to walk you through the top 10 ways to spot a phishing email. Then we'll be treated to a live demo where he's going to show you a couple tips and tricks for handling the latest sophisticated threats and how we can take action to protect your organization. We'll even take it one step further and teach you how to respond to an attack should you ever become a victim. Very important stuff. So with that, Phil, please take it away.
Well, again, I welcome everyone and thank you for attending. You know, just attending today, you're helping educate yourself by coming to this training and learning about ways to spot phishing emails. You're helping to protect your organization. So thank you all for coming here and investing your time so that you can learn. And it's just a constant battle. It's not like something that you can learn once and be done. We're going to talk about lots of different threats today and how they're evolving, some new ones that I've seen recently and what those look like, just so you can be prepared and you can take this back to your organization. So thanks everybody for attending today. So let's talk about some phishing attack facts. There's been a 109% increase in the past 2 years. And so really phishing unfortunately works. And what that does is allow attacks to enter your network that you didn't want to be in there. Malware, ransomware, all of that comes in very often through phishing attacks. And so there's a huge increase in the past 2 years. And part of that is because it's worked. There's a monetary incentive for people to do that now through crypto locking and ransomware. And so you just have to watch out because the most often way that these kinds of ransomwares and viruses enter your system is through phishing. So it costs about $133 on average to mitigate a ransomware attack. And you know, that cost is really hard to pick out. It's going all the time. You know, from trying to eradicate the virus to lost productivity to you know, trying to restore systems. It just costs a lot of money So, it's the old saying, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure here. And that's why training and education is so important around this, because it's very expensive should your business get hit. But besides just the monetary aspect of this, what else do you lose? What else is there to lose besides just the monetary? Vital services. You may provide services out to your clients, and you're not able to service your clients anymore because services are down, and that's a huge impact. Records. Many of these viruses and malware and things might go in and modify records. For instance, they may change a vendor record in your accounting system, change the address. So you make a payment and it goes to the wrong place, or they have access to maybe personal information and they sell that information on the dark web. So there's more than just the monetary. There's the records aspect of this. Productivity. I mean, how many of us can go even an hour without our computers? And so if those systems are down and have been compromised, very often that means that no one can use their system until it's been completely cleaned and the virus has been eradicated. So you lose a ton of productivity in your organization. And your reputation. I mean, depending on what kind of industry you are in, if you've had a breach of some kind, you may be required to report that and let customers know that their information has been compromised in some way. And that's really hard to put any dollar amount on because it's a huge hit to your reputation as a company. So there's more than just the monetary aspects to this that we have to be aware of. This is a rather unfortunate slide. It says, it's now the norm to be a cyber attack victim. More than 2/3 of organizations have been hit with a cyber attack in the last year. Notice that's in the last year, more than 2/3. So if you were to spread that over, a couple of years, that number is going to be higher. You can see, by country how that stacks up, but it's becoming the norm, unfortunately. So let's talk about where attacks are discovered. Most often they're discovered on a server network, and that may seem a little weird to you or may not make a lot of sense. You're maybe used to seeing it down here in the endpoints and mobile devices and that kind of stuff. And that's because, once an attacker is able to infiltrate an endpoint, they are then going to try to work their way and worm their way into this data through the network and into the server. That's where the high value target is. That's where they want to get things locked up, or they want to steal data, or they want to change data. And so often it's not discovered up until it gets into the server. And then by then it's too late. So today's attacks, they enter through these endpoints, but most of the time the endpoints aren't the high value targets. It's the data and it's the network, it's the thing on the server, because that's what can bring your company down. They will attack other endpoints in your company, but they're often not discovered until they hit the server, and that's by then it's too late. I've already mentioned this once today, but I'm going to keep mentioning it, and that's education is paramount. The phishing attacks, the ransomware, the malware, it's climbing at an unprecedented rate. We see companies all the time that have had an event, and sometimes they make the news, sometimes they don't make the news, but it's climbing at just an astronomical rate. And educating yourself, educating your staff is the most important thing that you can do. So with that, let's dive in. I'm sure you're all anxious to kind of see some of these phishing attempts and ways that you can stop them. So before we get started, I'd like to let you know that most of all of these that I'm going to show you today are real attempts that our staff has gathered together and put together as part of this webinar. So these are most often real kind of phishing attempt emails. So this is one of the most common is sender impersonations. You'll see sender impersonations a lot. And that is, it looks like one company, but it's really not. You can't trust the name on an email. They try to impersonate someone you know or trust, or some company that you know or trust. Here's an example. So Citi, there's a great Citi logo. We're all familiar with the Citi logo, so that looks kind of legit. But and then it says Citibank. It says it's from Citibank. But if you look at the domain, that doesn't make any sense. If I got an email from Citibank, I would expect to see citibank.com or something to that effect, not citibank.edocumentsign.com. That's not real. So you have to pay attention to the entire sender, the domain. Another common one that they use, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, is maybe letter substitution, or they'll misspell something in the domain to make it look like it came from that domain. An example would be to put a 1 instead of an I, and so your mind just kind of reads right over that. You think, oh, that's legit. But sender impersonations is one of the top ways that people get phished. They just think that something looks real. They're not diligent about it, and they click a link that they shouldn't have. So be sure to check the email address to confirm it's the true sender. Again, if it's not something you're expecting, just double, triple, quadruple check that sender. It's easy to read by those things. Another one is the sender uses the public domain. You know, if we are a company and we're interacting with other companies, we should expect to see a legitimate domain, not Gmail, not Outlook, not Yahoo. Those are free accounts that many of these people set up and try to send it to you to look legit. You know, most legitimate companies are going to have a legitimate domain name. And so if it's a public domain, you should stop and go, okay, is this really real? Again, you can see this is supposed to look like it's coming from Collin County, but after that it says gmail.com. That's an email address they get for free, and then sending it to make it look like it's coming from somewhere else. There's other things, you know, there's urgent requests, no signature here that's going to let us know that that's not a legit email. So unless you're in HR, you know, where you see people applying to jobs or something for your company, or you're dealing directly with consumers, you wouldn't expect to see many public email domains. You expect to see legitimate email domains there. So be on the lookout for that kind of thing. Generic salutations. Here's a example from Equifax. Again, there's a sender impersonation here, so that auditmessages.com, that's not real. But they made the email look like it came from Equifax. It says credit monitoring alert, but then it says dear sir or madam. I imagine Equifax knows probably just about everything about me. They certainly would know my first name and last name. They may know my pet's name. They may know what my mom was going to name me. They know a lot about me. And so for them to send an email that just has greetings, sir or madam, that should be a red flag. Like, why didn't they address me by name? So if it's someone that you work with that should know your name, almost always they would include that in the salutation. You know, dear Philip, you know, greetings, here's what we need from you. So if it's generic, you just have to be careful and make sure. Personal information. Legitimate companies will never, ever, ever, ever ask you for personal information over email. Listen again, legitimate companies should never ask you for personal information over email. And if they do, you should probably find a new provider. Email is an insecure way to transmit personal information or any kind of sensitive information. And so they shouldn't ask for that kind of stuff inside of an email. Here you can see they're asking for, please have your account number, social security number, all of that kind of stuff ready. You can see they just grabbed a logo. It says HSBC. I mean, those logos can be grabbed and downloaded from anywhere on the internet in a matter of seconds. So if they're asking for personal information, that should be a red flag to you, always. Spelling errors. Unfortunately, I'm a bad speller, so this is an email from me. It may have a spelling error, but attackers often have grammatically incorrect messages, and you think, well, why don't they just run it through spell check? Spell check is a thing now and has been for a long time. The reason sometimes they're intentionally misspells is to bypass virus checkers and spam filters. And so many of the spam filters are looking for things like mortgage rates or finance or those kinds of words. And so often intentional misspellings will let it bypass that those spam filters. And so you'll see misspelled emails on purpose. And again, you can see you're not used to seeing hyphens here in an email or a domain name. So if you see weird domain names with hyphens or special characters from a company that should be legitimate, you just have to ask yourself, are we sure this is a legitimate email? Suspicious links. So this is an example of subscription renewal. And if you're in Outlook, you can just hover over the link and look at that link. It's really long and super suspicious. Here they've done sender impersonation again. It looks like it comes from Apple and it's asking me to renew my subscription. My advice always, if you're leery on a link and they're asking for something from you, like in this case, a subscription renewal, be smarter than that. Just close the email, open a web browser, and log on to the account as normal. Don't click the link. If they need something from you, it's also going to be in their website or their web portal. So if it's your bank or something like that, the way that you can combat these links is just don't click them. Go to the site, log on as you normally would, open a web browser, log on as you normally would, and usually there's a messages section there that's going to ask you to give them the information that they're looking for. So if you're worried, people put links in there. Unfortunately, humans are the weakest link and we just want to click because that's what's easy. But do what's not easy, open a web browser and just log on. If they're asking for something, that's always the way to combat that, is just don't click the link. Malicious attachments, this is another big one. So many malware, viruses, ransomware, they enter your network through malicious attachments. So never open a questionable attachment. Look and see, are you expecting it? Even if it's from someone you know. I've seen a recent example of virus and malware that will infiltrate the person's email. It will then start replying to old emails with attachments inside of there. So you may say, well, I was expecting it. I interact with Cherie all the time. And so she's sending me email and it's a reply to a thread we were having earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this. Well, I wasn't expecting an attachment from Cherie. So maybe I should pick up the phone and call her. Again, the way to combat this is not to just blindly click. It's to go outside the normal methods. So in this case, I might call Cherie. Say, Cherie, did you send me an attachment? I got one from you. And she would say no, and then you would know that that was not legitimate. So maybe she has a virus or malware on her machine, and it's replying to old emails, and that's something you have to be careful of. Obviously, never open an exe. Many systems now block exe, or a email that has been encrypted. So if it is asking for a password, so you'll see often emails that are phishing and virus emails that say, to open this attachment, please use the password blue sky. And if they are really trying to protect that document, if it was really a protected document, they would not send the password with the email. That doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't. There's no reason to do that. They would send the password separately from the attachment. So if you get an attachment and it says you have a password, do not open that. The reason is that has been encrypted, and most virus scanners or all virus scanners can't get in there and look and see if that is a virus or something you should be concerned about. So that's why they put those passwords on those files. Sometimes they're PDF files, encrypted PDFs, sometimes they're encrypted zip files, and they have a password on them. That's a big red flag. If you expect anything, it's always just best to pick up that phone, use that phone or IM or some other method to say, hey, did you mean to send me this? Is this something I should be expecting? Urgent requests, this is a big one. So you'll see often someone say, hey, I need this right away. Scammers will say, we need this, we need you to respond within a couple of hours. They often impersonate your CEO or CFO. Those requests often come from those people because they're probably listed on your website as the CEO or the founder or the CFO. And so scammers know that, they grab it, and then they make it look like it comes from your CEO. So if someone says something urgent, then again, I say pick up the phone and call them. If it's really urgent, they're going to answer the phone. If it's urgent within your company or outside of your company and they need something, they're going to answer your phone call and talk to you. You know, we had this happen to one of our clients where they asked for urgent requests. They had them go buy gift cards on their personal credit card, send pictures of the gift cards. It wasn't until someone had spent a few $1,000s on their personal credit card that they realized that they had been phished in this way. So urgent requests are a big red flag. Unbelievable offers. My mom always said, if it sounds too good to be true, you know, I'm not going to win a $1,000 gift card to Walmart if I never applied for anything. You can see this is a bad email. It comes from epromodeals.com, which is not a legit. It's an unbelievable offer that they're giving me a $1,000 e-gift card. So, you know, they trick a lot of people. You see it every day, not just an email. You probably see it on social media where they're tricking people into sharing something or sending something or clicking something by offering something that's too good to be true. There's very few instances where someone's going to give you a big reward for no effort. So you should always just always be leery of those. And then finally, just any kind of suspicious messaging. I mean, again, this is an unverified sender. This is doesn't look like a Microsoft email at all, not typical for Microsoft. It's poor grammar. You can always reach out to the person, reach out to the organization, go around the normal methods of clicking or doing what they ask to find out if it's legit. Pick up that phone, use those instant messaging, you know, find another way to contact that person or that organization before you just blindly click. It's easy to we all get busy and we get tired and we want the easy way out and we just want to click. You know, clicking, sometimes you'll see people click and then they'll like see something happen on their screen. They're like, oh, no, and then close it right away. By then it's too late, and the best thing you can do is reach out to your IT department. If you've clicked and you see something like, oh, this doesn't look legitimate, don't think that you can just close it and not tell, because right then is when things are starting to infiltrate your network, and you need to tell someone right away that that's happened. They would rather know now than when your entire network has been compromised. So let's take a little bit and look at some live examples that I have here. All right, so here's a quarantine report, and you can see it came to Dave Bailey at arctic.it.com. Dave's our CEO. Now, the first thing that is suspect about this email is we use Barracuda for email filtering, but that's not where this message comes from. It comes from some JP, which is a Japanese domain. So that was our first clue as, hey, this is not legitimate. It's not real. We use Barracuda. We wouldn't have quarantine messages from somewhere else. And so we can look at that domain and say, hey, that's not something we use. But as cybersecurity professionals, we were interested in seeing what this was all about. And so we then took that and grabbed that email and put it in a notepad. I would not suggest that you do this if you're not a professional and you're not used to this, because you can accidentally click something that you didn't mean to click, and by then it's too late. But I just want to show you how we started to dissect this email that we got. So you can see here's the link. We pasted a notepad. Notepad is a safe place to put a link because it's not a web browser and you're not going to accidentally click it and open something. We then use VirusTotal. VirusTotal is a site that we use often to check things. You can check URLs or files. And so we put that link that you saw inside of there and ran it up against virus total. You can see this is a phishing email, so it told us, hey, this is a phishing request. Then we ran the IP address through Shodan. So we took the domain, got the IP address, put that IP address into this tool, and then we can see those vulnerabilities attached to that domain. So obviously we didn't want to click it. There's no good that can come out of that, but I just wanted to show you an example of what a malicious attack kind of looks like and how we kind of dissect those things. Another example here. Well, let me talk a little bit about DocuSign. A lot of phishing attempts come from DocuSign, so we all get these. This is actually a legit request that I got. So it was a quote from a vendor of ours, and it came with a DocuSign email. And many times people just click the DocuSign right here. Let me show you a better way. It takes a couple of extra seconds, but you can guarantee you'll never get DocuSign phished again. So if it's a legitimate DocuSign email, at the bottom you'll see alternate signing methods, and it'll have this code right here at the bottom. So what I want to do is copy that code, just copy it right there, and I want to open a web browser. Remember how I told you, like, one of the ways to combat this is not to just blindly click. So I open a web browser, I go to DocuSign.com. This is the real DocuSign website. Right here, I can click Access Documents. When I click Access Documents, it's going to bring me into a place that says, put that code that you got there. So I can paste that right in. This is an old one, so it's not going to retrieve anything. But if it was, you know, a recent DocuSign envelope that you got, you would be able to receive it right here. So DocuSign often is a attack vector that people use. They make things look like it's come from DocuSign. The way to combat that, again, is at the bottom of every DocuSign email. It says, visit DocuSign.com, put in this code. When you put in that code, you'll be taken to your document. So that's a good way to kind of combat that. Let me show you another example of an email that we got that was incredibly sophisticated. So this was a voicemail. Again, it came into Dave's email, and he sent it to me. It says, you received a new voicemail. Oh, good. I'm anxious to hear it. And so you go down here, and many of us have phone systems which send us emails when we have a voicemail to let us listen to it. And if you were to click this, this isn't a system we use, so we should be suspicious to start with. But if you click this, what it did was take you to a Microsoft page. Like, this is a legitimate Microsoft login. So I'm checking it, I'm trying to be diligent, and I'm like, well, I'm really at the Microsoft web page, and it's going to ask me to authenticate, and it's going to authenticate me against my real Arctic IT credentials. What's going on here? Well, you can see what this was about to do was request these permissions. This app right here would like to read all your contacts, read all your email, have full access to all of your mailbox settings, read and write to your mailbox. It was going to put itself in to our Office 365 tenant by him clicking accept. Obviously, Dave knew what he was doing, and we talked about this as just a really sophisticated attempt. So it wasn't a third-party site, it was an app that was going to get installed into Office 365. And that's why I say you have to be diligent, you have to continually learn, you have to watch out for new requests every single day, because they're not going to just stop with one type of phishing attempt or one type of ransomware. They're going to continue all kinds of different ways to try. It's a cat and mouse game, but they're going to try to get into your system. So those are some real life examples, sophisticated ways that people are trying to trick you. So what should you do to take action? You know, the first thing is, again, education. This flyer, this presentation, this handout will be available in the handout section of this webinar. So you can take this back, you can take this to your company, you can put it up in the break room, whatever makes sense for you, but you have to educate your entire organization. You know, it's the weakest link kind of argument, and even though you've come to this webinar to learn and to be trained, doesn't mean everybody in your company is trained. So everyone has to be on alert for these kinds of things. Research first. Do not get in a hurry. You know, again, if something's urgent, pick up the phone, and if it's urgent, they're going to answer the phone. But if you suspect a malicious link, do not click the link. Don't just automatically click. We talked about that. There are other ways to do it. You can go to the website. You can contact the person in a different way, but don't just click. You can do some research on Google. You can research the sender, and you'll find out like other people who may have been phished, or people who say watch out for this kind of thing. So spend some time just Googling around for the sender if you're suspicious, and then just review with your IT department. There's not going to be a good IT department that says, I wish you wouldn't have asked me. People ask me all the time. I got an email just yesterday evening from somebody who said, this doesn't look legitimate. Is this legitimate? And I was like, no, it was not. Thanks for asking. So always just review with your IT department if you're unsure. And again, we talked about the DocuSign example at the bottom. So it's just another way outside. Ask yourself, is there another way that I can do this besides clicking the link that would let me know that this is a legit request or not? Have heightened email security. So one thing that you can do is have Barracuda Sentinel. That's a product we have. It uses AI, so it's constantly learning from the entire system, not just our email system, but the entire Barracuda network is feeding in information, and it's looking for those spear phishing attacks. You know, it will tell us like, oh, this might be a spear phishing, and spear phishing is those things where it's actually identified someone in your organization. So it's sending an email that looks very legitimate because it says, you know, hey, Phil, this is Dave, and I need this right away. Well, that's an example of like a spear phishing kind of technique. So Barracuda Sentinel adds a layer of protection around that. And if you're a global admin for your company, you use Office 365, and you're a global admin, Arctic IT has a complimentary email threat scanner that you can access at arctic.it/scan. Again, it'll look through your entire organization and your Outlook and look for threats to your organization. Again, you have to be a global admin, but that's a tool that we make complimentary for people. Other things that we can do to be diligent, we can conduct phish testing regularly to uncover the clickers. We at Arctic IT, we do that through our managed service offering at Arctic Care and conduct regular phish testing for our clients. So, you know, it's about that education. If they click, then they can be given a little bit of education and shown what to do in case something were to happen. How to respond to attacks. So what if something does happen in your organization? What do you do? First, you have to isolate the systems immediately from the network. Again, they're trying to worm their way through the system. So you want to connect it from the network as fast as you can. Again, I would say if you've accidentally clicked on something, turn your machine off or unplug it from the network right away, then get your IT department involved. So contact help, contact your local IT department and get their help. If you're a client of ours, contact us at Arctic IT, contact your local FBI cyber incidents response or your cyber insurance carrier. So you want to get them involved. They can help you mitigate whatever kind of attack you've had. They have experts. And then you can finally report the incident at ic3.gov. So with that, that's all I have today. Joanne, are there any questions?
Okay, no questions. I think that means you covered absolutely everything. As always, you can follow up with Phil or Sherry after the webinar is over, or always email myself, Joanne Maltagliati, and I will direct your question to them. So with that, Phil and everybody else, thank you for joining us.